But the moral of the story is that Reagan's not at fault even slightly, and the internet is disgusting towards Reagan right now, and it's also disgusting how Brett has handled this because she's just fostered hate towards Reagan.
Another person claiming to be a friend to both Reagan and Brett gave a completely different account of events, and you guessed it, Reagan is the villain in this person's story, and I'll read it to you guys. For the first time since the Daily Wire drama with Brett Cooper and Reagan Conrad started, someone is coming out to talk about it, and this new revelation paints Brett Cooper in the worst colors. Probably because the person talking is from Reagan's camp. Hey guys, and welcome to today's video, but before we continue, please show me some love by hitting the subscribe button to bring me closer to my goal of reaching 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much, and let's get into it. Now, if you don't know what's happened so far, Brett Cooper, the beloved host of the Daily Wire's hit show, The Comment Section, left the show unceremoniously and was replaced by her friend and maid of honor, Reagan Conrad, who, might I add, has been struggling to keep the show afloat, with her videos not being able to break 100,000 views, despite having over 4 million subscribers. The subscriber count itself is drastically reducing as people are unsubscribing to the Daily Wire and leaving nasty comments in solidarity with Brett Cooper, who they believe was unjustly booted out of the show and betrayed by both Daily Wire and her best friend Conrad. I call her the best friend because, hey, she was Brett Cooper's maid of honor at her wedding. While on the other hand, Brett's new YouTube channel has raked in over 500,000 subscribers without uploading a single video. So let's dive into this strange video that claims to have the truth about the Daily Wire scandal. A young woman claiming to be Reagan Conrad's cousin posted a video on TikTok a few days ago, giving an account of what she claims is the truth about what transpired between the Daily Wire, Brett Cooper, and her cousin. But for some reason best known to her, she did not keep the video up for long and soon took it down. However, if there's one thing we know about social media, is that whatever you post on there becomes immortal. So even if you delete it, it will still exist because someone somewhere will have a copy. So of course, her video was downloaded and posted on Reddit when she deleted it, and Spill the Tea has a copy, of course. But before I say anything, let's watch the video.
Over the past week or so, I have watched the internet completely rip my cousin to shreds over something that is the furthest thing from her fault, and I've watched the one person who should have been in her corner and could have changed the narrative sit back and stay completely silent. So I, for one, am not going to stay silent, and I'm about to tell you exactly what happened. I'm Riley Conrad, and my cousin is Reagan Conrad, who works for the Daily Wire and is the current host of the comments section on YouTube. The previous host was Brett Cooper. If you're unaware, the internet, especially Brett Cooper stans, have been up in arms over the fact that Brett Cooper recently decided to leave. There's been a lot of speculation over what happened, why did Brett leave. The speculation unfortunately turned into rumors, and then the rumors were taken and ran with. And then my cousin just began to get hated on, and it's actually crazy the things that people are saying, and I want to set the record straight because unfortunately, while Reagan and Brett were best friends, Brett has just sat back and watched this happen to Reagan, and in fact, she removed all of her posts with Reagan on Instagram and eventually unfollowed her too, which obviously made the internet even more skeptical of Reagan. And it's just plain wrong, because Reagan has done absolutely nothing but support Brett her entire career at the Daily Wire so far. Here's what really happened. Brett chooses to leave over reasons that legally I don't believe I am allowed to say, so I'm not going to touch on them, and honestly, that's Brett's story. So here's where Reagan's part comes in. Reagan was the producer of the comments section. Like I said, they were best friends. So whenever Brett decides to leave, Brett recommends to the Daily Wire that Reagan step in and be the substitute host for a period of time. So Reagan, with her friend's blessing, decides that she is going to do this, and she loved it. Reagan has always loved the Daily Wire. While Brett decided to step away, Reagan has always really enjoyed her time there, and I personally have witnessed how much Reagan loves to do research on Republican media. She loves all things Republican news. So this was perfect for her. However, that being said, Reagan wanted them to continue searching for other hosts that could actually step in full-time. So she's the substitute host while they're doing this search, and they decided they didn't like any of the other host options. They wanted Reagan. So the Daily Wire reaches out and offers the position to Reagan. Now Reagan is stuck between a rock and a hard place. Brett has told Reagan that she wants Reagan to come with her, to leave the Daily Wire with her. And she told her that she could be her producer. However, that being said, it would be months before Brett knew of what she wanted Reagan to exactly be doing. It would be months until Reagan got paid by Brett. And also, Reagan would not be getting as much pay from Brett, that's for sure. The Daily Wire is able to pay her a great sum of money. Brett wouldn't be able to pay her quite as much. Now, my cousin is doing fantastic in life, but I don't know about you, most people cannot just take several months off of work and then also take a massive pay cut when they have expenses. So, all of that considered, along with the fact that Reagan loves what she's doing, she believes in the Daily Wire, and she really enjoys being in front of the camera. She loves it. You can watch, guys. Like, everybody's accusing her of having acting classes. I can tell you, that is how Reagan's always been. That's how she's always spoken. Yes, maybe they have some of the same mannerisms. They've been best friends. Who of you has a best friend and doesn't start kind of talking like them? You usually have the same lingo. So the acting classes, rumor, it's just that. It's a rumor. Reagan has never had acting classes. She literally just does speak that way. That's how she is. Anyways, you can tell she loves it. She loves being in front of the camera. So she decides, even though she's between a rock and a hard place and does not want to offend Brett, she decides to take the position because she's meant for it, guys. And she used to be so afraid to speak up about her views. She actually came to me at one point when I was starting to do social media and I was always talking about being a Republican and talking about my views. She came to me and said, Rye, how do you do that? Like, how do you unashamedly talk about your views and not worry about offending people? And I was just like, you can't worry about it. Like, you gotta be true to yourself. She grew from that over the course of the Daily Wire, being able to completely speak up about her feelings, speak up about what she knows, and be such a solid voice for Republicans, especially young female Republicans. So, Thanksgiving comes around, and Reagan is dealing with this, do I take it, do I not? She wanted to take it so badly, but you should have seen us in the basement of my grandparents' house, her being an emotional wreck, not wanting to upset Brett. That was her only concern. And I said, take away Brett's feelings. What would you do? And she said, I would take it. I would love to take it. But if you include Brett's feelings, she didn't want to hurt her friend. But that being said, her friend decided to step away. It's different if Reagan shoved her out. It's different if the Daily Wire forced her away. But she didn't. Brett chose to leave, and there was this open position that was then presented to Reagan as, do you want this? After multiple weeks of searching for somebody else. So, Reagan takes the position. And I said to Reagan, if Brett is a true friend, she will still be in your corner. If she is not, then she was never a true friend to begin with. I can understand Brett being hurt. I can understand Brett wanting Reagan to follow in a way, but Reagan is her own person, and she is meant for this role. You can't force people to do what you want them to do, and then if they don't do it, stop being their friend. So I was hoping in good faith from what I had seen of Brett that Brett would make the right decision and still support Reagan. Well, here's what happened. So obviously Brett puts out that video about stepping away from the Daily Wire and Reagan's going to be a great host, blah, blah, blah. That's all she said. Fair enough. Well, then Brett decides to remove all of the posts on her social media with Reagan. And I was like, that's low, but okay, maybe she's just trying to support Reagan. Maybe she's trying to not let her be in the limelight and not let people find her social media so that she doesn't get hated on. I don't know. Well, then Brett completely unfollows Reagan off of Instagram. Messed up if you ask me. Because Reagan always was supporting Brett. Reagan loved Brett, still loves Brett. To be honest with you, the way that she still is so forgiving of this girl is really incredible, because I would have said, screw you, after all of the things that Brett has now done. But she's still so loving towards Brett, and in fact has several times on YouTube already in Reagan's first few episodes very vocally supported Brett. She always supported Brett whenever she did the show, and she was so vocal about the fact that Brett was talented and Brett was a genius and blah, blah, blah. So I was very much hoping that whenever the tables turned and Reagan stepped into the position that Brett would do the same. Well, instead, since Reagan did not come along with Brett and leave the Daily Wire for Brett, Brett has completely turned on her and allowed the hate to happen, even though Reagan was offered the position fairly and Brett chose to step away. She's allowed the hate to spew and has not come forward and tried to clear Reagan's name, even slightly. So, sure, do I think the Daily Wire could have handled this differently and started a new show? Sure. But the show was never owned by Brett. It was never Brett's show. It's the Daily Wire's show, hosted by Brett. There was actually a host before Brett, although a lot of people don't know that. So, while I think the Daily Wire could have done things differently and given a little more room for, I don't know, grieving of Brett leaving, sure. But the moral of the story is that Reagan's not at fault even slightly, and the internet is disgusting towards Reagan right now, and it's also disgusting how Brett has handled this because she's just fostered hate towards Reagan, and Reagan has said nothing but support for Brett.
Now, the reason I did not want to say anything about the video before showing it to you guys is because I believe it comes with an element of bias, and I did not want to add to that with my own opinions before you are allowed to form yours. But I think we can all agree that this girl who claims to be Reagan's cousin is basically doing what would be expected of Reagan's family members. And if what she's saying is true, I understand her to an extent. I mean, if two offers are placed before you, it only makes logical sense to pick the one that will favor you the most. And from her story, that is what Reagan did. But then what I cannot sympathize with is the intentional attempt to make Brett Cooper into the villain here, making it look like Brett is responsible for how people perceive Reagan, while all Brett has done so far is remain quiet and delete photos of Reagan from her social media, which she has every right to because it is her social media. I believe people's perception of Reagan stems from the manner in which she replaced Brett and the allegations that she's trying to be Brett 2.0 by copying her mannerisms. And come to think of it, if Reagan could sacrifice her friendship with Brett for the mouth-watering offer from the Daily Wire, why should Brett try to protect that friendship by standing by her side and try to influence people to like and support Reagan in her newfound replacement career? And I'm saying Reagan sacrificed her friendship with Brett because in the same Reddit post, another person claiming to be a friend to both Reagan and Brett gave a completely different account of events. And you guessed it, Reagan is the villain in this person's story, and I'll read it to you guys. So this person says, "Hi, friend of both Brett and Reagan, and I'm commenting here because I am so disgusted with the lies of the latter. Should say first that I fully believe that Reagan told her cousin this version of events. My best guess is that Reagan did not tell her family the truth because they would not look at her the same. Brett absolutely did not recommend Reagan for the job. To the contrary, Reagan was supposed to leave the Daily Wire with Brett. That was the plan. She was the person in Brett's ear encouraging her to leave because of reasons I cannot get into. One day, Reagan came crying to us all saying that Jeremy was forcing her to fill in for Brett, and we thought he purposely wanted to make Brett sad by picking her best friend to sit in her chair. Reagan told us that she told Jeremy she did not want to do it, but he told her she had to as an employee. I'm telling you, I heard this from Reagan's own mouth. Retrospectively, this made no sense, but she was crying, so we believed her. It's the same reason her cousin believes her. Reagan is really good at fake tears, and why would we ever think she was plotting against her own best friend? But the rest of the story is true. A few weeks later, Reagan did an about face and said she enjoys hosting and that this might be her big break, and Jeremy offered her a ton of money to stay on, and never mind, she was no longer living with Brett. I now think Reagan likely pitched herself for the part, and then completely made up that Jeremy forced her to sub in. We'll never know, but I can tell you that realizing she lied to her own family and used fake tears is a bit too single white female for me. She sickens me, and I can't believe I ever thought she was a good person. That's a lot. That's a lot of tea. And if Reagan did this, then I don't believe she needed any acting classes to fill in Brett's position on the comment section, because that would have been a stellar performance. And if you notice, this account of events takes away the blame from the Daily Wire and puts it on Reagan, because this person claims that Reagan might have pitched herself as Brett's replacement, meaning that the whole idea may not have originated from the Daily Wire itself. Wow, this story keeps getting wild. And because of an alleged NDA, Brett is still silent about the whole thing, so we can't hear directly from the mouth of the victim/villain. But who do you think is telling the truth here? The self-acclaimed cousin of Reagan or the self-acclaimed friend of both Brett and Reagan? Let me know what you think in the comment section. And that's where the video ends for today. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons and turn on your notifications if you like what I talk about on this commentary channel and you want to see my next video. Until I come your way again, take care and bye-bye.